You want your brain to keep working while you sleep. But most nights, your hard-won knowledge dissolves by morning. The problem is not laziness. It is a mismatch between how you study while awake and how your brain consolidates while asleep. Fix the mismatch and you wake up measurably better. Treat time like inventory and energy like electricity. Cramming burns through electricity without restocking inventory, while smart coupling of study and sleep lets the same electricity power deeper circuits. When you align waking inputs with nightly consolidation, you stop paying twice for the same learning. Here is the short neurochemical map you need. Dopamine helps you initiate and tag relevance. It spikes when something feels meaningful or novel, which marks memories for later processing. Noradrenaline handles alerting. Too low and you drift, too high and you jitter, so you want steady, medium arousal during encoding. Acetylcholine supports focus. It narrows your spotlight so you encode clean traces rather than smudged impressions. At night, the machinery shifts. During slow-wave sleep, the hippocampus replays recent patterns in compressed bursts, while cortical areas strengthen the connections that will carry those memories tomorrow. Rapid eye movement then loosens associations just enough to test variations, which supports abstraction and transfer. Energy leaks during the day come from context switching, ambiguous goals, and rewards that arrive too late to reinforce the right behavior. Each leak lowers the chance that your night shift will replay what matters. Several tidy myths hold you back. Sleep is not passive. It actively edits, cuts noise, and stitches meaning. Weekend catch-up does not restore the precise consolidation windows you skipped. You may relieve pressure, but you lose the time-locked edits. All-nighters do not prove commitment. They mostly overwrite yesterday's fragile traces with stress. Dreams are not random noise. The mixing looks chaotic because the brain is running low-risk experiments that later show up as insight. Here is the evidence in plain language. Sleep spindles in non-REM predict overnight gains in memory and skill. More spindles generally mean better consolidation, even when total time in bed is matched. In classic experiments, people studied word pairs or practiced finger tapping sequences, and then either slept or stayed awake. By morning, the sleep group outperformed the wake group and widened the gap across the week. Another line of work uses neutral cues linked to learning and then replays them very softly during slow-wave sleep. Recall improves the next day. You do not need gadgets to benefit from this. The point is that your brain already replays what you tag as relevant and gentle, consistent context, makes it pick the right files. So what changes today? Lower start friction, so you actually do the learning sleep can amplify. Choose a single, clearly bounded target, not get better at physics, but complete one 45-minute block of spaced retrieval on chapters 3 and 4 with 90% correct friction falls when the target is observable and finite. Then use context bundling so the night shift recognizes a coherent story. Keep the same surface, the same file naming scheme, the same few core resources, and one repeating micro-cue. Your brain likes repeated context because spindles replay not only content, but also the surrounding tags. If you must switch, switch by design. Encode in one place, rehearse in a second, recall in a third, and keep that triad stable for a week so the pattern is learnable. 2 levers amplify everything without turning this into a sleep hygiene sermon. First, shape the learning sleep window. Give your most important material a prime slot in the final 2 hours before bed. Not because late-night cramming is magic, but because proximity raises the chance those traces make the replay list. Keep the block clean. No notifications, no parallel tasks. One source open, one document where you write answers, not highlights. Second, encode with retrieval and minimalism. Read once, close the source, then force a clean recall in your own words. If you miss pieces, reopen briefly, patch, and close again. Retrieval strengthens the trace and produces the crispness that the replay system prefers. If you want a gentle cue, pick a neutral, repeatable one. A distinct but subtle scent you can reproduce nightly, or a 1-minute instrumental loop at low volume during study that you play once during wind down. Keep it consistent. You are nudging, not hacking. Your day can also prime dopamine without turning study into a candy shop. Before you start, write one sentence that states why this block matters in 1 week. Relevance raises dopamine just enough to mark the file without flooding noradrenaline. Keep acetylcholine focused by writing in a low distraction editor and by using medium sentence length. When the block ends, show your brain a visible done signal. A tick on a calendar, a version number on the file, or a single line in your log that begins with finished and the exact target. The editor uses these closures as anchors. Here is a simple 20-minute sequence you can deploy tonight without new equipment. Start by naming the target out loud in one sentence and writing it at the top of your page. Set a timer for 20 minutes and keep only the single source you need visible. Read a coherent chunk once, close it, and switch into recall. Write the key ideas in your own words and solve 1 or 2 representative problems without peeking. At minute 8, reopen briefly to correct gaps, then close again and restate the whole thing in fewer words. At minute 15, add a neutral cue that you can recreate later. A tiny amount of a distinct scent beside you, or a 1-minute instrumental loop at low volume. Tag meaning in one sentence, beginning with, "This matters because." At minute 19, stop and write a visible completion mark with the date and a quick accuracy estimate. When the timer ends, stand up and give yourself a small non-food reward you enjoy for a minute or 2. The reward is small by design. You are teaching your brain that clean effort plus clean finish equals closure worth repeating. Common derailments have simple fixes. If you feel too wired to sleep after studying, shrink the final block and end it at least 30 minutes before lights out. Then insert a consistent low arousal wind down. Write your to-do for tomorrow in 2 lines and read a page of something familiar. If you wake at night and start rehearsing in bed, do not convert the bed into a study hall. Sit up elsewhere for a few minutes, jot what wants to be jotted, and return. If you miss a night, return to the same structure the next evening without compensation marathons. The editor forgives skipped nights, but punishes chaotic patterns. Over a week, you should see changes you can count. Your morning cold test scores on the same material should climb even when evening effort is constant. Your time to first accurate recall should shrink by a few seconds. Errors on previously learned chunks should drop. If none of that budges, separate variables. Reduce novelty in the last hour before bed, tighten your study target, and add the visible completion mark. Those 3 changes alone fix most plateaus. This is not about perfection, it is about letting the night shift do its job. You align dopamine by tagging meaning, you steady noradrenaline by bounding the target, you recruit acetylcholine by working in a clean lane, and then you hand the files to non-REM for replay and to REM for integration. The brain wants this pipeline. The morning version of you is different because the morning version of you literally has a different network. If this helped, run tonight's 20-minute sequence on one important topic. Then check your recall in the morning and note the change. If you want more, save this and share it with someone who is stuck in late-night grind. They will thank you when they wake up sharper.